The Butchel Brinkley Podcast with your hosts Nick and Junior and producer Vince, bringing you elite fantasy hockey information to help you win your fantasy leagues and win at life.
Episode 86, the mock draft episode.
The Kucherov of episodes.
Ooh.
Jack Hughes.
Teuvo Teravainen.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I love it. All right, we're starting off with a bang here.
Ooh. Banger. No. Because last year we did that. I was like banger after, because you said the exact same thing, and I was like banger after banger.
Banger after
Literally
banger
word for
after
word.
banger. Jesus. You'll re-listen to that episode of our final mock draft.
I did. You know, that's how we learn, you know?
In
That's how we get
2024.
better the next week.
Well, this is the 2025 version of that mock draft, and we are very excited. We are going to have an odd man rush to begin, but after that, we're going to go in depth with our mock draft of where we think players will land, and guaranteed we will be 100% wrong. Well, maybe we'll get the first one right, but that's a maybe.
Yeah, we'll get the first one right.
And further to that, I do have to remind everybody, we are not scouts. We are not draft experts. We read a lot on the drafts and the actual experts that are on the internet, and we get news from a bunch of different sources in order to come up with why a team is selecting what. Sometimes it's gut feeling,
Yeah.
and other times it's actually researched work. So we're excited to get this started because you know what? It's draft season, ladies and gentlemen. This is the most exciting time of the year.
Now, before we get to the draft,
It's also Stanley Cup Finals time, so I should mention that part.
yes. But before we get to the draft, let's do a little odd man rush segment.
Absolutely, let's do it.
Go. By the way, 4-1 Florida.
By the time people are listening to this episode, it won't matter. They'll know the final result.
Odd Man Rush.
All right. Speaking of the Florida Panthers, guys, Vince, I'll start with you. What do you think of the Stanley Cup Finals so far? And do you have a winner in mind, or is it just too close to call?
Do I have one that I would like to win?
No, like just based off what you saw. So we already predicted the series a little bit, but
Listen, I think Edmonton's getting hit with the injury bug, whereas Florida isn't. So there's a lot of key players for Edmonton that are going down. So at the end of the day, I really do want Edmonton to win. I think they can still win even with the injuries they got. But tonight's game, I mean, it was a given that Florida was going to come out flying. So that's it.
Well, you know what? From period to period, it seems that the momentum is just shifting. If you guys saw game 2, it was literally first period was all Edmonton. Second period, all Florida. Third period, all Edmonton. And somehow it still ended up Florida's way in game 2, and they earned the split. It's been a lot of fun, though. It's good hockey we're watching
Really
right
good.
now. This is the best finals, I think, that I've seen in a very long time, talent-wise.
and I know many complained about the break between the conference finals and the Stanley Cup Finals, but I think it leads to better hockey.
I think it's not only done, though, to rest the players. It's also done because of travel arrangements.
Yeah.
Right. And it's and they don't want to compete with the NBA either. They know where their niche is, so they're kind of keeping away from competing against other teams as well.
All right, ring that bell.
Bam.
All right, Nick. Canadians and Penguins, according to Nick Kyprios of Sportsnet, are interested in Nick Hague of the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm not going to ask if there's fantasy relevance because I don't think there is.
In a banger league, there is.
In a banger league, there is. You're right. And what does that mean for a guy like maybe Struble or Jackeye if they do acquire Nick Hague?
What does it mean for a Matheson? Right? We don't know. Nick Hague could play both sides. He has played both sides in Vegas in the past. The key here is what else are they going to... Like, Nick Hague is just one guy, and I think he's a great player for the Habs real life. Fantasy-wise, like we said, might not have a lot of impact outside of a blocker and hits league.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're talking about a 6'6", 215-pound behemoth. This guy would be a great replacement for David Savard in the lineup.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly how they're looking at it. Now, does that mean that Arbor Jackai maybe is out, Strubles maybe out? Yeah, sure. But guys, we're not talking about a top 4 guy here. We're talking about a number 5 on a Stanley Cup winning team.
Yeah, exactly. It's a 5'6". I'm surprised Pittsburgh is interested in him because
Their defense is atrocious.
I
Yeah.
know, but I feel like if he goes to Pittsburgh, he'll be playing out of his. But like with Montreal, we'll know he'll play as a number
Probably
4,
4
5,
for now.
6.
Yeah.
But with Pittsburgh, I feel like he might have to play like a 3 or a 2.
You put a 6'6" behemoth like that next to a Lane Hudson.
Yeah, but that's too high for him to play on that. If you're putting Lane Hudson as number 1.
Right, yes.
The reason I asked in particular was also because what does that mean for Reinbacher or Engstrom that are, maybe supposed to make the jump next year? They're either not ready or there's moves to be made.
I don't think it has to do with them. I think we have to worry more about Struble and Jackai. That those are the guys that played a lot this year, and maybe Montreal is feeling like they're not the guys to play in the second or third pairing. So that's why, because Reinbacher is going to have his place in the second pairing of defensemen for Montreal.
I'm looking at a guy like Matheson, right? His contract is nearing its end. I think there's one more year left. I should double check that before I mention it. But if Matheson is a trade candidate this year at the deadline, might be a way to you have you get him out of the left side.
Yeah.
And you put Nick Hague in.
Yeah, but I just fantasy-wise, like Nick said, if you're in a banger league, it might be relevant, but or else it's not very relevant.
Matheson's on his final year.
Yeah, so that could be a trade piece. We'll see.
All right, sticking with the rumor mill, word out of Colorado is that perhaps Necas is not happy with the Avalanche. So this could be really terrible news for the Colorado Avalanche, considering this is what they got in return for Rantanen. So, Vince,
Yeah.
Necas wanting out of Colorado.
I don't know why he would want out of Colorado because they play a system that kind of benefits him, right, offensively. So I don't know why he would want out of Colorado unless he thinks the Nelson signing is a threat to him.
Well, okay, I don't think so. It probably has to do with stylistic and fit and who he's around. Maybe even the environment, right? You move to a city that you don't really like. Maybe he doesn't like Colorado. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, if there's a rumbling that he doesn't want to be there, or if he's having contract negotiations and he's not too sure what they're going to be offering him, that's going to be another possible trade candidate for the draft.
Exactly.
Right? You never know.
So what I heard...
It makes the draft a lot more exciting.
What I heard was he told Carolina, I'll sign an extension with you at the time, but I'm not going past my UFA. He's like, I'm signing a 2-year deal. If you want me to sign, I'll sign a 2-year deal that leads me into UFA. And now they're starting to wonder if maybe that's what's happening in Colorado. He wants to test out free agency.
Okay. Well, it's his right.
Absolutely. And one more, the final one, the most important one. Why? Because we need to mention him once an episode until he signs.
Now we have this team on our whiteboard.
On the bet board. All right, Mitch Marner. According to sources, Anaheim is willing to pay up to $14 million a season. Wowzer. What is there a legit chance he's willing to go to Anaheim, like Ryan from Starcastic predicted on our whiteboard there, or is this just them saying I'll offer you the most money out of everybody and hopefully that'll work?
I'm starting to think Ryan from Sarcastic actually knows what he's talking about compared to the rest of us. We're the what did the caller say? ECHL version of fantasy podcasting. But yeah, I mean, Anaheim has the cap space. They have the young team. I just don't know if they're really ready to compete this year, and that kind of gives me pause to think that Marner would want to go there.
It all depends where Marner's head is at. Basically, is he in the position of I just want the big bag of money and that's it, or is he in the position of I want to compete for a cup? So it's because I mean, let's say how it is. Anaheim is not competing for a cup in the next 4 to 5 years, right? Even with Marner there,
Well, I mean, it'll speed up.
it'll speed up the process, but it won't. Marner is not your playoff guy. That's gonna he wasn't a playoff guy for Toronto. He's not gonna be a playoff guy for Anaheim.
No, but Anaheim needs to get into
They
the
need
playoffs.
to get there.
Yes,
They
he'll do
gotta
that.
use a Marner to get there.
He'll do
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. But if Marner,
But I don't see
if
I don't
Marner
see
is
that
more,
means that
I
they're
want to
gonna
win the
compete,
cup.
right? Yeah.
Oh, versus I want the bag of money. Then I don't think Anaheim is a
The
good
only
fit.
thing I could see as a positive is that it's a weaker
Path
path, right? So their competition is a little bit weaker.
in the division.
In the division.
maybe, but they still got to get
Because if he's
Dallas,
going-
Winnipeg, Colorado.
Yeah. If he's going for the bag, then he
In the West, you're saying in total.
Yeah.
But who's in their actual division? It's the Pacific, isn't it?
Edmonton, LA,
Vancouver, no?
Edmonton,
Vancouver
LA,
doesn't look like it's
Edmonton, LA,
competing.
Vancouver. Yeah, so
We should probably check this before actually mentioning it on
well,
the podcast.
Edmonton, and LA were second and third. Who won the division? Vegas.
I think it's Vegas.
It's Vegas.
Yeah.
Oilers, Flames, Canucks, Ducks.
Okay, so
Seattle,
Oilers
San
obviously
Jose.
they're a cup contender right now. So let's move that out of the way.
Oilers is the only team that made the playoffs.
Flames are rebuilding.
No, what do you mean? There's 3 teams that make the playoffs in the division.
Okay, so no. Let me see more.
It's guys. LA played Edmonton in the first
Golden
round.
Knights, Kings, Oilers.
So Golden Knights, we know already that they're a cup contender, right? Year after
Yeah.
year. Oilers are a cup contender. The Kings,
Could be
right?
Yeah.
But there's not much else. The Flames look like they're rebuilding. Like I said, the Vancouver Canucks look like they're rebuilding.
Their
The
biggest
Kraken don't
competition.
look like they're a playoff contender yet.
Their biggest competition could probably be
Sharks?
San Jose.
But that's years away still.
Years away, yeah.
Right? So if he wants to go to a weaker division, I think this is where you look. I don't know.
If he's going for the bag, there's a lot more team possibilities than if he's going for a contending team. That's all there is.
There was also a coaching hire, I believe, that happened since the last episode, wasn't
Well, Lalonde was hired as an assistant coach to Berube in Toronto.
there? Right. Yeah.
And there was Roy's 2 assistants. That were-
Roy hired Bugner and
it was
Lalonde.
No, you
No,
said
not
it.
Lalonde. Someone else, but nothing major in terms of names.
Okay.
Oh wait, no, the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
the
That's
Boston
right.
Bruins. So
And
the
Boston-
Pittsburgh Penguins signed, is it Muse?
yes.
He was an assistant coach in Nashville.
Yes, Muse.
And Marco Sturm,
for Boston.
head coach for the Boston Bruins. What do we make of these two? So Muse has a big development path. So he's more of a developing coach. And Dubas said on the post that the Penguins did, as Dubas introduced him to the scouting team and the whole staff, basically said they wanted someone who was able to develop the young guys but still have a good relationship with the older guys. And that's why they chose him out of the whole group.
Basically, that means
Doesn't it sound like
that
a
mean-
like a
bas-
rebuild?
basically that means we're rebuilding, but I don't want to tell my superstars that we're rebuilding.
I think they know. I think they know already. I mean,
It's their
Crosby
choice.
and Malkin. Malkin's going to retire after this
Yeah,
season.
Malkin is staying in Pittsburgh.
Crosby's the only other guy, and he's going to be like a secondary coach to help out the coach, right?
I don't know, man. I think Crosby might at trade deadline he might ask for a trade.
I
go
don't.
to a
I really
competing
don't see it. I think he wants to retire a Penguin.
The other coaches, by the way, were Ray
Mark-
Bennett and Bob Bugner.
Bob Bugner.
Anything on Marco Sturm and the Bruins?
Marco Sturm and the Bruins. It sounds like they're not going to be necessarily a rebuilding team. I think they're going to try to retool on the fly like Washington did, which is not easy to replicate. But this offseason is going to be very interesting. There's names out there. By the way, Florida that Junior mentioned for Marner, I just wanted to go back to that for a quick second. There's rumors also that the whole speech at the end that Paul Maurice did at the end of the Toronto series, where saying that the media is too hard on these guys and whatever. This is all pitches to Mitch Marner to get him into Florida. So we'll see.
Music to my ears.
Yeah.
Guys, that does it for a very quick Man Rush.
Hotman Rush.
Let's get into the mock draft.
No, hold that thought. We need to update the partial breakaway battle royale fantasy hockey playoff pool.
Who has the standings?
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Vince, I guess...
You do it.
I'll
I
do
don't
it.
have access to it. I'm not that
So
important.
this is with the updated points of today. Listener Rooks is still in first, but the lead is now only 7.2 points. Second place, Listener Umbi. Third place, Listener Tino, 10 points behind. And still in last, still in fourth. I don't know what the heck he's doing. With 65 points, which is a whole 24 points behind the lead. None other than co-host Nick.
Hey guys, I made it to the finals. Let's just put it that way, all right? The fact is that I actually really liked my team. You know, I have Bennett who's killing it. I have Lundell who's doing pretty decent for a third liner. And I have Barkov who's kind of sleeping at the wheel a little bit.
And, Schmid's been pretty good.
Schmid's been doing good in the finals.
And Darnell Nurse, well, he hasn't done much.
No, Darnell. So it's Barkov and Nurse that are killing me here.
Barkov is killing you.
Yeah.
So guys, that's about it. Do you hold any hope whatsoever in
Right now,
comeback?
I'm actually messaging the rest of the pool to let them know that what's
You're in last
happening
place.
to my team. It's so sad. It's so sad. All right.
So guys, that does it. And
Listener Rooks is killing it.
yeah, quick note: Ryan Nugent-Hopkins did play tonight, which
Okay.
he was maybe not going to, which was going to hurt Listener Rooks, but he did play. Only one shot on goal, but I'm sure he's not 100%.
Yeah. Same. All right. It is time for our... Yes, you're absolutely right. I'm going to leave it off to Junior first, and then we'll do the rest later.
The fastest game on the ice just hit another gear. Welcome to the Stanley Cup Final, where legends are made and every shift could turn the tide. And now, with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can take every slap shot, breakaway, and overtime thriller to the next level. New to betting on the Stanley Cup Final? You're in for an exciting time. Getting started is a breeze. Fire up the DraftKings Sportsbook app, pick your team to win, lock in your wager, and you're off to the races. It's fast, simple, and puts you right in the middle of the action. So let's take a look here on what DraftKings has available. You could actually start drafting. You could actually start betting on the draft, like Nick decided to do last week. You decided to give a pick on who would be picked third overall.
That's right.
What I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to tell you that Caleb Desnoyers will not be picked in the first 4 picks of this draft.
You could do that?
So there's an over-under of 4.5 on draft position for Caleb Desnoyers. And I'm going to go on the over. It's at minus 105, so it is the favorite. But I kind of feel strongly about it because I do think him playing in the queue will actually drop him a little bit. But I still think he's a top 10 pick. So that's it.
That's a good pick.
Here's the kicker, though. New customers who bet just $5 will score $300 in bonus bets. If their wager hits, that's right. Turn $5 into a Stanley Cup final payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN. That's promo code THPN to unlock $300 in bonus bets when your $5 bet wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
Surprised I didn't stutter more.
Stutter. Talking about
I'm
stuttering.
surprised I didn't stutter more. You did great, Junior. You did great. We still love you in this podcast. At least some.
Hey guys, look! How about this layout? Wow.
Look at that. We're getting
For those of you
interactive.
watching on YouTube, we are starting our mock draft here, and I'm going to be hosting the mock draft. Although really, it's all of us chipping in. We're going to have an order here. We already did our 100-yard dash randomizer before the episode started. Vince is going to be picking first for the Islanders. Then I'm going to be
You're picking first. I'm picking second.
Oh, shoot. I'm picking first for the Islanders, sorry. You're picking second for San Jose, and
then
then
so on.
Junior picks third for Chicago, and then we keep going like that. Now, we will be spending a little bit more time on the top 10 picks, giving more information that we've gathered through our many different websites and 1,000 pages open here in front of us. And then later on, we're going to be going a little bit faster, more gut feeling of who we think your favorite team is going to pick. So, let's just get it started. Let's get it started. So the Islanders are going first.
Just so that fans know or the listeners know, we're using FC Hockey, which is it's a cool interactive draft board. So you guys can see exactly who we're choosing to pick in the first rounds. So it's actually free and it's actually really cool. So it's NHLentrydraft.com and it's nice.
I will give a little caveat as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not draft experts. All the information that we have here is obtained through the different websites that we pay for. There are a couple of websites that are free as well that we use. And we're going to get started.
Oh, wow. Giving the fans
No, well, the reason I'm doing
that's
this is
gonna be-
because we're going to get all of this wrong.
Yeah, that's it. That's
So,
going to be the result.
That's
of
going to be the result of this mock draft. But ladies and gentlemen, this is mock draft 1.0. Getting it started myself. Islanders, you are on the clock. They will take the full 4 minutes here to decide between Michael Misa and Schaefer. Now, I know Higgins is also a lifelong Islanders fan, season ticket holder, and would love to be drafted first overall by the Islanders. We're not going to do trade outs.
Okay.
But there are possibilities in the real NHL when it happens, which we will be live, by the way, for the full 3.5 hours. Again, as we did an annual tradition last year, where we actually started falling apart near the third hour. And the Islanders are going to go ahead and pick Matthew Schaefer. Now, if you don't know who Matthew Schaefer is, I think you've been sleeping under a rock or living under a rock, because Matthew Schaefer is the highest graded prospect. He's the highest graded on Elite Prospects. He's the highest graded for Scott Wheeler as well. And he's really... I was scared of injuries, but I think the Islanders, at the end of the day, they realize how important it is to have a defenseman that could be a number one, that could carry the play, and pairing them up with a Dobson, or even separating them and having a Dobson on one pair and Schaefer on the other, might be too much to pass up. Personally, I would have liked them to go with Misa, but I am predicting what's actually going to happen here and not what my preference would be. So I'm saying Schaefer all the way here. 6'2" left-handed defenseman from Erie. He projects as a comparison, or a compared player is Heiskanen. So you are talking about minute cruncher, top line, top power play, top everything.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I wanna run something by you. So 9 defensemen have been selected first overall in the NHL. Brian Berard, Chris Phillips, Dennis Potvin, Eric Johnson, Gord Kluzak. Why is Owen Nolan on this list? I'm not sure. Owen Power, Rasmus Dahlin, and Rob Ramage. Not many of those are number one overall worthy. And I wonder if that scares away some people, but I wouldn't even take Schaefer over Bouillon or Perek of last year.
Oh, I think you're.
So I think he's slightly
Perek-
better than Perek. I think he's slightly
think-
better because he's more
yeah.
complete. But
Yeah, much more complete.
but
Perek, I don't see Perek playing 25 minutes a night,
right.
but I see Schaefer playing 25 minutes a night.
Schaefer's comparison is at one point he'll captain the team, and so that
plays a role too,
yeah,
right? I
so
mean,
that gives you the leadership.
There's a reason that Buffalo, sorry, for the scouting combine, all these guys are taking out for dinners.
Yeah.
You need to know who you're picking. You're investing so much into this person. You want to make sure that the person you're getting is actually a good person, and that plays a big role.
Yeah.
The personality, the way that they hold themselves up, right? The Islanders did have dinners with Higgins, Misa, and Schaefer.
Yeah.
So might be a surprise pick coming up. Who knows? All right, moving on to number 2.
All right, here we go.
San Jose, you are on the clock.
All right, so I'm San Jose. Obviously, Schaefer would have been my first pick. To match him with Sam Dickinson would have been like my top pairing defenseman for the next 20 years. But unfortunately, he's off the board. And I do have assets if I do to trade up, but we're not doing that right now. So to me, I think San Jose's preference is to have Celebrini as number 1 centerman and Will Smith as number 2 centerman. I think that's what they want. So we need to bolster the wings. They have Eklund already on the wing, but you need a Michael Misa. So to me, they would draft Michael Misa as a winger. And just because, I mean, the kid's 18, he's 6'1", 134 points in 65 games. 62 goals, 72 assists. Like, he's had an incredible year. His comparisons that we have here, he has explosive offensive ability. His hockey IQ is very, very high. That's why some people think he might actually go first. But his comparisons are Kaprasov and Kucherov, which are high comparisons to have. Is he going to hit that level? Listen, they're young, so we never know, right? But just to have a comparison like that means you have the talent to play in the NHL. And then to match it all with that, you're going to play either with Celebrini or Will Smith, which are 2 elite centermen already. So to me, it's a no-brainer for San Jose. I still think they have 2 other draft picks in the first, which I think they'd go probably defense on those. But I think for your second overall pick, you can't miss on this, and you have to bolster your offense. I mean, you have Toffoli there for a reason. He's a veteran, but for me, it's Michael Misa.
Yeah, the only thing is he's actually. I agree with you. I think I see him more as a winger than a center, even though he's not his natural position is center. I think in the NHL he might be more efficient on the wing. But yeah, I think it's obvious, right? Picks 1 and 2 are Schaefer and Misa.
Yeah, I mean, according to Elite Prospects, you're talking about a dynamic, play-driving, dual-threat scoring center with exceptional skills, details, contact skills, machine-like motor, and these are like music to my ears. Every time I hear the machine-like motor, it makes me think of Max Crosby from the Raiders. But yeah, I just think that we can't go wrong with these two. I mean, these are the 2 obvious ones. They're going to go 1 and 2. Which order that's going to be in, we'll see.
And him playing center is just an advantage because then they can play on their strong side for faceoffs.
Well,
depending
okay,
on who.
so let's talk about San Jose a little bit here because they have 3 guys. And like if you add Misa to this, they have 3 guys that could play center or wing.
Yes.
Celebrini is your number 1 center.
Center.
Misa could play center as your number 2, or Will Smith could play center as your number 2.
Exactly.
And then on the left, you could put Misa with Celebrini.
And Eklund with Will Smith.
And Eklund with Will Smith, right? Like, you're talking about talent.
Yeah, exactly. San Jose is on the right track. Like we said, they're still a little weak on the defensive end with their prospects, but they can't go wrong with Michael Misa.
All right. Picking 3rd, Chicago, you are on the clock.
Oof, this is a tough one, my friend.
This is a tough one. And, wow. So, yeah.
This is where the draft really starts.
This is where the draft really starts. And if I had to pick.
You do have to pick.
No. If I was the GM of Chicago.
You are for this exercise.
I am. But they're not going to think like me. I would have went with.
That's why you're not hired.
I would have went with Anton Frendel. But we'll get to him later when he is actually drafted in this
He
mock.
is the third-rated prospect on the Wheelers Athletic.
You have to stop confusing people. Just make a pick and then explain it.
So Frank Nazar seems to have been established as a center. So that makes Berard and Nazar 1 and 2 center, which makes me want to go wing, someone who could help Bedard. And who better to help Bedard than 6'3", 208-pound right winger from Brampton in the OHL, Porter Martone.
I love it.
Porter Martone is big. He's fast. He's very creative for a big guy. He's got a high compete level, and he's basically like a Matthew Nyes with slightly more skill, and that's pretty impressive. And I think that creates a lot of space for a Connor Bedard, and could create a lot of goals actually for himself. Hockey prospecting has him at 60% of being a star, which is for hockey prospecting standards, that's pretty high.
Yeah. Right now, Elite Prospects does have Porter Martone as the third best ranked prospect from the Brampton Steelheads. And I mean, if you're giving somebody like that to Bedard, that's pretty big. That's pretty cool. Bedard is going to be happy with you, and I think that's also part of the equation, right?
And what helped me to make that decision, sorry to interrupt you, is just last year we saw they drafted for need.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're going for need, then it should be wing.
Yeah, I mean, look, Porter Martone, like you said, 6'3", 204. He's a big boy. He does play. He does have high end skill, more of a passer than you would imagine. Right shot winger with size, strength.
It just feels like the perfect fit on that line.
Yeah,
know?
it does feel like the perfect fit. You're absolutely right. What do you think?
Listen, Bedard needs help on that team. We know they tried to get Bertuzzi, they tried to get Teravainen this year. They tried to get all these veterans to go, but he needs help, and he needs talent around him. So, and not only talent, but someone who can protect him. Like right now, I feel Bedard is being he's not being targeted because he's playing on the Chicago Blackhawks, who basically don't mean nothing to the NHL right now. But as soon as Chicago starts competing, people are going to start, going after Bedard. And with a Martone who's 6'6", at least you have a kind of talented enforcer there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why Chicago should go towards there.
Well, with the fourth pick, we have the recently named Utah Mammoths on the clock. Well, Utah Mammoths, what do you need? I really like Logan Cooley. He plays for that team.
Sure,
Am I right?
Sure does.
Thank you. I really like having a really talented Keller, but both of those guys are a little bit on the smaller side. So because they're a little bit on the smaller side, that's where I turn around and say to myself, well, wouldn't it be nice if I had maybe a little bit of a taller player, more physical player here? And Anton Frandel is 6'1" and a bit, and a quarter, 204 pounds. He plays against men. I think he's a real possibility here. I don't think they go with a Higgins route, who is very similar to Cooley and is very much comparable to Cooley. I think Anton Frandel just solidifies that second line center, which you need. It helps Cooley because Cooley is going to always be the top line guy, and it brings a little bit more to the mix. So I take Frandel here. What do you guys think?
I love it. I love it. I think Frandel has everything he needs. He has the tool set to become a Kopitar, a Barkov. He has that tool set. And if I'm not mistaken here, hockey prospecting has him at 89% of being a star That is ridiculous. Now, look, he's nailed some picks and he's had some bad ones too. But you can't just rely on hockey prospecting's evaluations. But the one thing about Frondell, obviously, he came off an injury. He had a slow start and was able to pick it up after. So, injuries are always a question. But I absolutely love the guy. Last year it was Bouillon. This year he's my crush.
Utah is still in the type of retooling because their young guys are just starting to come up. They signed Simashev. So they're starting to build.
They signed a lot of big boys.
Yeah, they're starting to build their team right now. But their biggest missing aspect right now, which is on most teams, is a number 2 centerman. Barrett Hayton cannot be a number 2 centerman in the NHL. He's had his chance, and unfortunately with injuries, it hasn't come. So whether it's Higgins or Frondell, they have their number 2 centerman.
I think no matter who they pick between Dejuani, Higgins, and Frondell, all of those are options here, but their biggest need is absolutely second line center.
Exactly. So that's why you start with that and then build around that. So I like the Frondell pick.
I will say that Elite Prospects has Frondell as their 13th best forward, so quite a way low. Whereas Scott Wheeler has Frondell as their 3rd best forward. So like there's a lot of volatility in this guy's projection.
Yeah.
And not everybody's in love with this player. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but that's my pick for the Utah Mammoth. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the next pick, and that is pick number 5, Nashville Predators.
And this is where Nashville starts celebrating, because whoever got picked, it really didn't matter, because there's one position where they're struggling in. One position was never filled in their NHL inaugural season to now.
Very true.
And it's a number 1 centerman.
Well,
Listen, okay?
I guess Johansson,
Ryan Johansson was there, but
Rigel,
O'Reilly came in late.
So you have O'Reilly now.
but he was a trade. He was
It wasn't drafted.
So, and man, this player is going to benefit so much by getting drafted by Nashville, because I feel Nashville is going to be a team that's going to rebound next year compared to last year.
I feel like he's setting us up for like a curveball.
No. So, and the Marchessault trades talk that are going around, meaning that they want to liberate a center position. So they're going after a centerman.
Marchessault's winger, though.
He actually plays all three.
He plays all three. So, to me, this pick is hands down James Higgins. I know he was going first overall until Schaefer came up, but he was there. He was the guy. He did not have a very good first season at Boston University. I think 37 points in 37 games. It's for a guy who was supposed to go first overall. It's not an excellent season, but the team he played with was also stacked with players. So Boston College, sorry. So I feel this is a good opportunity for him. Do I think he's going to play right away? That I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they're going to send him one more year down. But the thing is, I don't know if Nashville can afford to send him down, because they're in win mode now, right? So, but James Higgins is definitely an upside to what they have now, and to have a Philip Forsberg as your winger off the bat your first year. I mean, people dream of stuff like that.
Yeah, so, I mean, according to Elite Prospects, dynamic skating, puck handling, full scoring arsenal is available to him. And he was a former first overall stature, right? He has the ability to return to his play-driving ways. And so I agree with you that this could be a very good center in the NHL. Shades of Logan Cooley and Jack Hughes.
Yeah, that's the comparison I have is Jack Hughes. So if he does come out to that without the injuries, I mean, this is a home run for the Nashville Predators.
Look, he was projected top 2 pick, first overall for a while there last year. And, he had a little bit of a disappointing campaign, if you will, this year. And his draft stock dropped. But it doesn't take away of how skilled he is and the potential he has, for sure.
All right. Next, we have the Michkov team. Who's going to play with Michkov? And that's, I think, the biggest question here for this team. Pick number 6 goes to the Philadelphia Flyers. Junior.
So the Philadelphia Flyers are ranked 18th according to Wheeler in their prospect pool. And their top-rated prospect, according to him, is Oliver Bonk, a right-handed defenseman.
Who we traded for in the DPR league.
He sure did. And then Luchanko, who they drafted last year, who many thought was a reach at the time. Then after that, their prospects 3, 4, and 5 are defensemen and goalies. So they have a lot of work to do. Couturier is not going to be there forever. Noah Cates, to me, is not a number 1 or a number 2 center. Neither is Ryan Poehling. They got to go center here. And I think they go... I know there's a lot of talk as we speak of them really liking Brady Martin. But I don't think that's the guy to draft now. Trade up for him if you want for a second on like another pick. You got to go with the sure thing, and that's Caleb Desnoyers. Caleb Desnoyers is 6'2", 178 pounds. He plays in the queue with Moncton. He's highly skilled and deceptive, great vision, and he's got a big frame, and he plays big. And I think that's great for the Flyers type of hockey, especially with Rick Tocchet. And if he gets the center, Mishkov, it's even better. So he does a lot of things right. He's definitely going to be an NHLer. And he's actually, the comparison I saw, is he's a more skilled player than Sean Couturier, which I think was a fun assessment. So they got to go center. He's the next center available. It's Caleb Desnoyers.
Well, I'll add to that, saying that, you compared him to Couturier. That's really exactly what was said by elite prospects here. A detailed 200-foot center with hard-nosed net front game. Doesn't that sound like a Philadelphia Flyer?
Yeah.
Right? Yes, he's not exactly the fastest person, but I don't think Philadelphia hasn't necessarily in their past been the fastest team, right? But I really like this pick here. I think it fits very, very well. The only thing that scares me is the fact that it's a QMJHL player. And QMJHL players, I think, are going to fall in this draft. But Philadelphia is indeed the pick here.
By the way, we just won. We won some money.
Oh,
Caleb Desnoyers was pick 6. So if you listen to my bet,
there you go. Your DraftKings
would have
bet.
won some money.
Promo code THPN.
I like you can't go wrong with Caleb Desnoyers. I think he has that sandpaper effect to his game that that just brings out the Philly brawlers, right? And he's got enough talent to keep up with Michkov when the time comes to pair him with Michkov. So I think that's a great pick.
And I think the Flyers have 3 firsts. So if they really want that Brady Martin, they could trade. They have the assets to trade up for him a little later.
Next on the clock is a division rival. The Boston Bruins.
Wow.
They haven't been picking this early in a very, very long time. And I think that this team definitely needs to hit on this pick because it's not often that they get a top 10 pick. I really like a couple of people here. I'm considering Roger McQueen. I think that even Scott Wheeler says Boston could go out and consider Roger McQueen. But I kind of really like his pick. And I'm going to go with Brady Martin.
Wow.
We could talk all we want about a top-line center. And I don't think Brady Martin necessarily is going to be a top-line center. But I do think
he'll be on that Boston team because
he would fit that Boston team really, really well. So my pick here is Brady Martin. I'm just going to open up very quickly here. He comes from the Sioux Greyhounds. Elite Prospects has them as the number 12 prospect. There's a lot of
but in this range it could be anybody.
Like last year when Luchanko got drafted from Philly, he came out of nowhere. No one had him that high in their list. So
he's a playmaker who overwhelms opponents with monster forechecking ability and bone-crushing hits. Tell me that's not a big bad Bruin, right?
The only thing is, like, I feel like, I don't know if you agree with me, Vince. They lack a little bit of offense now. And do you want to draft a Bruin or do you want to draft a skilled player, like a really good player?
Well, Pasternak, I mean,
Like I'm just referencing maybe Jake O'Brien because he's more of a playmaker, like more of a Ryan O'Reilly type
there's a lot of fear though with O'Brien
because of
his injuries. Yeah,
that that has to come into consideration.
you're right. Especially if you have to nail the pick like the Bruins do.
If you have to nail the, and that's why I mentioned that at the beginning, because you tell us how you felt about last year's big injury risk.
Caden Lidstrom.
Lidstrom,
exactly. Look,
right? He didn't play. He didn't play for almost the entire year.
He played in the Memorial Cup. That's where he played, which he showed he was still in shape. But it's a risk.
It's a loss of an entire year of progress.
It's a huge risk. I think this will show that Boston. It won't be as easy to retool this team as people think. I think this team has a lot more holes than their not their fans, but the head office think. And they're, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to say it like it is. They're in the most competitive division, the NHL right now. You have the Floridas, you have Toronto, you have Tampa Bay. It's already 3 teams in your division that are making the playoffs. And now then you have the upcomers there. You have Montreal. And so I think the next few years are going to be very important for Boston to draft well. Because if you remember that year they had the 12, 13, and 14, like 3 picks in a row in the first round. And they bombed on all of them except for, I think, Jake DeBrusk.
It was Jake DeBrusk, Leshizin maybe.
Yeah.
And,
So I think Boston needs to take a step back and realize that this retool is not going to be a 1-year retool. It's going to be a 3-4 year retool. So, and if they go in with that,
Brady Martin,
it could be a really good addition to them.
Yeah. So, moving on to the Seattle Kraken.
Seattle. Okay, so I'm the Seattle Kraken. I've been told I've been with third liners and second liners and don't have a first liner on my team. But I look at my pipeline and I'm not discouraged, especially not forward, because my forward pipeline, I have Matty Beniers, I have Shane Wright. So that's 1-2 centermans who could easily be a number 1, number 2. I've always said I think Shane Wright is going to be ahead of Beniers, but to have Beniers as second line centerman, not too shabby. Their system has to change. It's almost like two of a defensive system for these 2 players. But so after that, and then if you don't even think Shane Wright or Matty Beniers, you got Berkeley Catton, who's in your prospects of last year. So, and then on the wing, I have a big winger. It's called Edward Sale. So I think up front, I am very well in my prospect pipeline. So right now, the thing to do for me is really build on my defensive line. I have Montour. I have Vince Dunn. But I need a young guy. And to me, the next defenseman after Schaefer to go up is Jackson Smith. So to me, Jackson Smith is the second defenseman who
Comes off the board.
I have to find him over here.
So I'll just mention elite prospects and what they say. Yeah. It's a dynamic offensive creator, explosive 4-way mover, physical shutdown presence, and more, all in the same skill set. All roads lead to the NHL, but which path will he take?
Exactly. So I have basically the John comparisons are Shea Theodore and Morgan Riley. If you're Seattle, you want more to Shea Theodore than you want the Morgan Riley. But it's all due to his elite skating, defensive reliability, and the ability to contribute offensively. So to me, for Seattle, it's a no-brainer. I stacked up my prospect line for the forwards, so now it's time to concentrate on my defense. So Jackson Smith.
It's very smart.
I agree. Defenseman's the way.
6'3" also.
Defenseman's the way to go. I think either Jackson Smith or Murtka, you couldn't really go wrong with either or.
All right. Moving along to the Buffalo freaking Sabres.
I get the worst teams.
Buffalo Sabres have recently drafted plenty of defensemen first overall. It's the only team I know of that has two defensemen first overall under the age of 25. And what do we think Buffalo does here? Do they continue it with a defenseman or?
So I was thinking that. But then, there's so much talk about Buffalo right now. The rumors coming out of Bowen Byram possibly being traded, or a guy like Alex Tuck who's on the last year of his contract. If he doesn't want to sign an extension, do they trade him? So I look at their centers, Tage Thompson, Josh Norris. I think that's a great 1-2 punch.
For Boston, Nick, you picked
Brady Martin.
There we go. Go ahead. I was missing him on the draft. That's why. On the interactive draft.
And then your pick.
So Buffalo Sabres, I think, have their number 1, number 2 center. They have some young guys on the wing like Kulich, Benson. Tuck is still there. JJ Peterka is still there.
For now.
For now. That's what makes it really hard. And I can't find my cursor here, so let's go here. I want to say defenseman. But I think where's my cursor? Damn it!
Oh, Junior.
Crap. I lost. I it's sharing a screen. It's a little more difficult. Anyways, I'm gonna go with Victor Eklund.
I like it.
I think they can add a skilled winger like Victor Eklund. I do think he's a bit of an upgrade on Benson and Kulich. Not taking anything away from them. He's got a heavy shot. He's a consistent player. When he plays with offensively skilled players and reliable players like a Frondel, he excels even more. So if he's put in the right position, he's going to excel even more. It was him or Murtka, but I went with Eklund in the end.
Okay, well that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I don't mind the pick that much. I still think that I would have gone Murtka here, but
with a defenseman,
it's just I can't go based off a trade they haven't made yet, right?
Exactly.
You're right.
That's the only
Bowen
thing.
Byram is not traded yet, right? So now
You're right.
right now they have Deline, Powers, and Byram. There's no space for Murtka, so
Yeah.
I would go with.
To be completely honest,
No Roger McQueen here.
they're probably trading this pick because now if all those players are disgruntled, you as a management now you want to bring someone in to say, okay, we're for real now, like we're gonna make changes.
Yeah.
So I think this pick is likely not even theirs by the time the draft comes. But yeah, McQueen would have been nice because of size. I just figured because of Dahlin, captain, they want to maybe please him a little bit, and maybe he could be like the big brother to an Eklund. I made that
Swedish.
Yeah.
Well,
What does the lead prospect say about him? Sorry, I thought you had it open.
geez, way to throw me under the bus.
Come on, Nick.
I was just moving on, we're 53 minutes into this
Holy
podcast. But you're right. This is the number. What number are we at? This is number 10.
10.
So
9. This was pick
this is
9.
9. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, Victor Eklund is actually the 9th rated prospect as well on Elite Prospects. They say highly translatable and skilled winger, one of the best motors in the draft in a physical game that supersedes his size. Strong bet to become a top 6 contributor. So we'll see if he becomes better than a Benson. I have my reservations on that. He's also under 6 foot slightly. But I do agree with you that he has the talent to go here. So I really don't know what Buffalo's going to do, and trading the pick is very, very likely. He provides shades of Seth Jarvis and Travis Konechny. So not bad players to have on Buffalo. Moving on to the top 10 pick, the number 10 pick in the Anaheim Mighty Ducks with the new orange jerseys. I think this is very difficult. They have a history of picking really, really good defensemen, and I think that continues here. And I think that's where Murtka ends up going. If Buffalo doesn't take him, I think Murtka ends up being here in Anaheim. Roger McQueen's a possibility. According to Wheeler, that's what he had predicted in his mock. I just find that if I'm really looking at holes and trends and really what I'm predicting Anaheim to do, I think Mirka is the way to go from the Seattle Thunderbirds. Big, physical, and a heck of a shot, right? Like, this guy could literally turn into another Cider, and he's been compared to Cider in past mocks. So I really like this player here. I'll bring up the elite prospects because spelling his name is always very difficult for me. But in the meantime, what do you guys think of this pick?
I don't know. I'm struggling with that pick just because they already have 3 defensemen in their prospect lines in Zellweger, Minchkov,
And Lacombe.
So I know it's another big defenseman.
But neither of them...
Lacombe, yeah.
Minchukov and Zellweger.
But neither of those have his traits.
Yeah.
He has some of the traits that they don't have. And like, I don't think he'll be a power play 1 guy.
No, I think
but
that's
he's
Zellweger's.
a perfect complement to a number 1 guy, a number 1 pairing. So
is Lacombe necessarily a hard-hitting defenseman?
he could be if you wanted to. I mean, he has the build for it. If he can develop a bit more muscle mass. He's a pretty big boy.
I think it's very hard to find Mirkas. And Anaheim has had the history of drafting defensemen, even though they have defensemen.
Yeah. And
they tend to trade away some of their defensemen to make room for these younger guys to come in. So they're a defensive factory over there. And I think that's where my pick is coming in from.
Yeah. I like it. Listen, you win championships from the back going forward, right? So to stack up your defense and have 4 pillars, it's not a bad move either. So it's good.
Okay, we're coming into an hour in, very very soon.
So these next picks are going
to come fast and furious,
rapid fire,
with
less details.
We won't have as many insights, but we will just mention very quickly some very key stats, and that's it.
Okay, so basically, I'm next.
Pittsburgh
to the
Penguins. You are on the clock.
Okay, so Pittsburgh Penguins, I'm losing my 2 top centermen within the next 2 to 3 years. So I'm drafting a centerman to rebuild this team. I'm losing Crosby, I'm losing Malkin. To me, there's 2 centermen that you could be looking at. You could be looking either at Jake O'Brien or you can look at Roger McQueen. The biggest thing for me is, at this point, I'm going for the guy who's going to give me the most points. The guy who's more electrifying offensively than a Roger McQueen who's very good two-way and more defensive. So to me, Jake O'Brien, the numbers he put up for the Brantford Bulldogs in the OHL, 98 points in 66 games. I mean, it's not Misa's 134 points, but still 17 years old. So he's one of the younger draftees in this league. So to me, it's a Jake O'Brien. All the way for Pittsburgh, and we develop him to be number 1 or number 2 at some point.
I don't think it's a bad pick at all. I won't really. I said I wasn't going to comment, but there is something news that we wanted to add. They have spoken about the possibility or the need and want for the Pittsburgh Penguins to do size, and they really want to pick a big player here. So that's where I think that McQueen could also be an option here.
Well, O'Brien,
the option will be those 2.
6'2" O'Brien. He's not a small boy. So,
average.
Who's next?
All right. Who's next on
The Great
board?
Apple.
Ooh.
The Big Apple.
The New
Great
York
Apple.
Rangers. So you
The
picked
city
O'Brien.
that never sleeps.
If I have to go with the New York Rangers, I think it's my turn or yours?
Yes.
No, it's my turn.
It's your turn. Go ahead. New York Rangers. You're on the clock.
Okay, so
Thank God.
they're an aging team. They don't have a great prospect pool.
We said quicker, no?
If Jake O'Brien was available, that would have been the pick here. I'm gonna go. I don't know if it's a little bit off the board, but where is he? He's a defenseman. I'm just gonna find.
You're going D.
Yeah, I'm going with a little piece of nasty. Yeah, 6'2", 196 pounds from the OHL. Barry in the OHL. Kashawn Aitchison. He has basically. So what I've read up on him is that he's a big physical defenseman. can handle the puck and get out of his zone. He's got a great first pass and all, but he's like a clutch goal scorer. So like he's not necessarily a big point producer, but he hasn't been asked really to do so. But he can produce when needed. And I think when you look at the Rangers lineup as it is right now, you have a guy like Andre Miller, who maybe was supposed to be that, but now there's already rumors of him possibly being traded. But Adam Fox, more of an offensive finesse guy. Braden Schneider, a little bit of the same. Will Borgen, a little bit of the same. I think they're missing a bit of that nasty, and I think Kashan Aitchison really provides that for them.
Yeah, I like this pick a lot. I was actually hoping he would fall to the Habs. Even though we have a lot of defensemen, you can never have enough defensemen. All right, next on the board, after the New York Rangers, we have the Detroit Red Wings.
The team who we always say will make the playoffs, but never do.
That's right.
It's a big offseason for them.
It's a very big offseason, a very big draft for them. Stevie Y, you are on the clock. And that's why I think that he's going to take his full 4 minutes here to decide what it is that he wants to do. No,
it gets tricky now.
it does get tricky. It does get tricky, but there's a lot of good players left.
Yeah.
A lot of good players left. And there's one guy that I'm surprised he's even available around this range. And I'm just going to grab him here quickly on Elite Prospects so that I could give you guys all the information.
Is his last name Rabbit?
Very close. It is Bear.
Oh!
So Carter Bear from the Everett Steel Tips is who I'm going with here. Just a phenomenal player. Like, he's an intense competitor, fearless, physical, always makes something happen. Again, shades of Braden Hagel, maybe. Shades of Seth Jarvis. I mean, I would love something like that on Detroit, because when I look at Detroit right now, I'm showing a lot of good players, a lot of very similarly talented players, a lot of two-way guys, but I just want that fierce competitor that could also play make, and I'm saying Carter Bear is a left winger that could come in here and really make a difference at 6 foot, 179 pounds. I think Stevie White could hit this one out of the park with this.
I really, really like Carter Bear.
Yeah.
I really like Carter Bear.
82 points in 56 games for the Everett Steel Tips in the WHL.
Very, very nice.
All right. After the Detroit Red Wings, who was number 13,
The Columbus Blue Jackets.
the Columbus Blue Jackets, you are on the clock.
At 14, the Columbus Blue Jackets. So basically, I feel very good about my team right now. They had an awesome season. They kind of ran out of gas towards the end to make that playoff push, but still, like everything, all the adversity they went through last year, it created some character with some of those players. Potential superstar broke out in Marchenko with that team. Another potential prospect, I think we can all say he's a superstar now, is Fantilli, who showed that he can really be an elite player on that team. So their prospect line is very, very, very good. But there's still some holes that they'd like to fill. Unfortunately, they had to trade a disgruntled player in David Jiricek because he basically thought he was higher than some of the other defensemen that they had. So to me, I'm going with Cameron Reed over here for Columbus. He plays Kitchener Rangers. I mean, elite skating, strong defensive instincts, and abilities to contribute offensively. He's a two-way defenseman with excellent mobility, strong gap control, and an offensive upside. 54 points in 6-7 games for the Kitchener, the OHL. Comparisons, I mean, Josh Morrissey and Duncan Keith, I mean, they're not too shabby. So to me, they would want to just have a few more options on that defensive end prospect line. So I would go with Cameron Reed.
Very nice. Very nice. At number 15, we have the Vancouver Canucks.
Guys, is it just me or is Roger McQueen still on the board?
You just had to ruin the suspense, didn't you?
Well, Roger McQueen's going to be a Vancouver Canuck.
I agree.
6'5", 197 pound center from Brandon of the Western. Is it Brandon Wheat Kings of the Western Hockey League? Yeah, this guy's got. He's got size. He's got a strong net front presence, great puck movement. Look, I think he has a little bit of injury issues too. For a while, maybe 2-3 years ago, he was projected to be the next big thing. I think he even had exceptional status when he was drafted. The thing with Roger McQueen is that he lacks a little bit of consistency with his playing. Obviously, doesn't always show the intensity, but I think these are all things that you can learn. These are all habits that you can learn when you get into the NHL or start developing to become an NHLer. So give me Roger McQueen. It's something the Vancouver Canucks don't have, and they're going to need it with the departures of Besser, and who knows what's happening with Pettersson. The one thing they say about Pettersson is that he's lacking a bit of grit and physicality, and I think Roger McQueen brings all that Pettersson is not, but won't bring the offensive upside that a Pettersson has, that's for sure. So I like where they are on defense. So I went more on the forward side of things, and Roger McQueen at 15 would be a massive steal in my eyes.
All right, then I have the honor, the privilege to be Celine Dion for this 2025 draft.
Ooh,
Look a little
And
pretty.
pick for the Montreal. Yeah, I look pretty good.
our God, Shanu.
So I know you all want me to go with the guy de Chez Nous. And whoever's next, which I believe it's Vince, maybe that's what you pick with the next pick, because the Habs do have back-to-back 16th and 17th overall. But to me, it just makes way too much sense to go out there and grab what this team and what the Kent Hughes said that we needed, and that's size. And Lyndon Lakovic is available as a 6'4" from 200-pound left winger from Moose Jaw. Lakovic is, I think, the best player on the board here. But not only is he the best player on the board, he has the size, the physicality. He has everything that you're looking for to be that winger on the other side of Demidov. I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it, because they made a pick similar to this in the Slavkovsky pick. Now you add, he doesn't play very physical, but he has the size. He's hard to bump off the puck. He's a fluid mover with dual threat scoring and control of the game. There's, physicality is the next step. He's not really physical, but he does remind people of a Dylan Cousins style, right? And how nice would it be to have somebody like Dylan Cousins on the Habs right now? I really like this 6'4" player who can play either side of the wings, and if you put him to create room for a guy like Demidov, I think that's just great for the team.
I like it. And for the Habs 17th pick overall, I would go with the guy from Chenu. It does, whether we like it or not, because he is a guy to Chenu with back-to-back picks. I think
we are expecting one of these picks to be traded by the Habs.
Well, maybe both picks, but let's say the Habs keep these two picks. I think Justin Carbonneau is the next pick for the Habs. He's a winger. He's in the Habs were missing people who wanted to go into the corners and do the dirty work. And I think Justin Carbonneau is just that player. He's that winger that will go through forecheck, has offensive ability, has excellent puck handling, and his shot is deceptive. Like he can put it on net. So to me, his ability to not be afraid to go into the corners, his ability to play the dirty areas, matching him with a skilled player like, let's say, Demidov or whatever, he'll do the dirty work, take the puck out of the corners, and then distribute to Demidov will just help the Habs in that way. So I feel Carbonneau is a guy from Chenu. He'll probably spend a few years down in Laval to develop, but I think he can be a good fit for the Montreal Canadiens.
To be honest, I think a lot of these picks this year's draft might spend a lot of time
developing
before they reach the end. Even when we talk about Schaefer, maybe Schaefer, as a first overall pick, maybe he does come, but I wouldn't mind seeing him in the AHL for a year, in the minors a year, because he did come off a big injury, didn't play a lot. So I don't see any of these guys really cracking the lineup unless the Islanders go ahead and pick Misa.
Well, speaking of not cracking the lineup, like you said, I'm going to go with the
Who's number
Calgary
18
Flames.
first?
The Calgary Flames pick at 18.
You are on the clock.
And I think when you're at this point in the draft, in a draft that is not deep, you're looking for high floor more than high ceiling. And
Interesting.
I think the Calgary Flames go with Cole Reshny, a center from Victoria of the Western Hockey League. He has the ability to create space through playmaking. He has two-way engagement. He's effective in all situations. He's a strong face-off guy. So these are all little things that get you an NHL spot, that earn you an NHL spot. And I think Calgary did a good job on D, brushing up their D with Perek. I think they traded for Bruce Stewitz. So they're doing good things on that end. I think they're in need of some offense and some forwards. And here, the best value pick for me is Cole Reshny, just because he can have that Kadri-esque role in your middle six going forward. And I think it's almost like a bookmark, if you want, because that's his floor.
See, I would have gone with Brushkovich just so we could have two Brushkoviches on the same time. Kind of like the Vancouver Canucks did with all the Pedersens.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would have been a
Just
fun
it's
story.
easier to pronounce.
Brushkovich. Guys, the 19th overall pick is going to the St. Louis freaking Blues, and they are a fun team to watch. They hit on the offer sheets so far. They have a young core. They look like they're going to be coming up. And I think this is the area where you turn around and say, what is it that I could get in the draft this year that might be able to help my team shore up or maybe replace, potentially, a guy like their captain, who is aging right now. And his name is escaping.
Shen?
Yes, thank you. Brady Shen. So, Brady Shen? Yeah, Brady Shen. And that's where I go with Brandon Coots. So,
Braden Coots.
Braden Coots is a 5'11" from Seattle, weighs 183 pounds. He is one of the top centers left on the board, and I really think that this team could use that other center in their pipeline. I know they have Dvorak. Do not yell at me, Twitter. I know that they have Dvorak. I think you cannot have enough centers, and if Dvorak doesn't pan out as exactly what you think, like a top sixer.
Who's Dvorak? Dvorsky,
I'm sorry. They have Dvorsky. If Dvorsky doesn't come and turn out to be the top six center, at least you have a backup plan here with Coots. Brandon Coots from the Seattle Thunderbirds. He is rated here as a one-man forechecking machine. He looks like an NHLer already. Flashes of dynamic play driving and top six potential, but like I said, maybe ends up as a middle sixer. And between him and Dvorsky, we'll see who gets to be the second liner. His comparison is Vincent Trocheck.
Nice. So at 20, basically I'm back with Columbus. So this is all like luck, but I think I should be hired as the Columbus Blue Jackets GM right now. Because, I mean, come on. Okay, so Columbus, basically I told you guys about the team, about what they're missing. And there's another position where they're just shit out of luck, we'll say. Okay, Merzlikins, we all know that Waddell is not a fan. Okay, Tarasov had his chance this year and didn't perform very well.
Are you going goalie?
I am going...
Jed Greaves, my friend.
No.
Yeah, Greaves looks good.
Greaves? No, I'm not going with Greaves, my friends. I am going with...
Well, Greaves is already drafted by them.
Exactly. I'm going with Joshua Ravensbergen. That's what it's Ravensbergen. Prince George Cougars in WHL.
Nice pick.
Listen, I think Columbus needs a prospect in their goaltending. His numbers were not crazy. I mean, goals against average 3, save percentage 901. But the big thing is he's 6'5". So
there you go.
I mean, he fills up in his body. He'll fill up a bit more of the net. So for Columbus, I'm going goaltending.
I like it. I like the idea. Next on the clock is the Ottawa freaking Senators. Now,
Who made the playoffs?
who made the playoffs? Unfortunately, a lot of the players that I would have maybe gone for here are not available. I think they have some good depth already in center. They have Sanderson already. That's going to be the defensive linchpin for a very, very long time. Oh, sorry, it's you. Yes, go ahead. You are on the clock, Ottawa.
You missed out, Nick.
Well, since you said they have so many centermen, I'm just going to add another one. 5'10" and Arizona State, Cullen Potter. Yeah, he's selected to go a little later in the draft, but I really like this guy.
Always surprises.
Ottawa always surprises, and I think lately I've been hearing a little bit more about him. So his strengths are skating, athleticism, speed, acceleration, edge work. Basically, he's a skater. He's a forechecker. He's offensively aware. He's good with handling the puck. But he's going to be your middle sixer, put pressure. Like he would fit in like a Carolina Hurricanes system best. But I think Ottawa Senators could use a player like this when they're ready to contend, which is going to be soon. So he could come in as a young guy playing on the bottom six and giving something that they lack a little bit. Even though he's small, he's what's that word I'm looking for when you don't stop?
High motor,
like he's relentless. He's relentless.
Yeah.
His motor just keeps going. So I think Cullen Potter here is the pick.
All right, moving on to the Philadelphia Flyers, second first-round pick. Who did they go with the first time? Can we scroll down there?
Yeah, the Philly.
Yeah, who did we pick for Philly the
went
first time?
Desaulniers.
Okay. Now, they don't really have a lot of centers, but they already picked a center this draft. I don't think that they're going to go back to the center well. And this is where I think that they go and they grab a Blake Fiddler. Now, I like Blake Fiddler. He has the size, he has mobility, he has NHL bloodlines, like 6'4", 209 pounds, right shot defenseman. One of the toolsiest defensemen in the draft, according to Elite Prospects, with plus-level mobility and flashes of exciting puck skills. But his calling card is shutting down the opposition. And I just feel that Philadelphia could really use that type of defenseman. It even helps a lot more that he's red shot, right? Did I mention he's red shot? I go with Blake Fiddler here.
Nice.
I really like Philadelphia's draft, by the way, just letting you guys know.
And then we're back on the board with Nashville, a team that was supposed to compete this year, like we all know, and yet they have 3 first-round picks.
Yeah.
3 first-round draft picks this year.
Yeah.
So with Nashville, I mean, they're looking just to suit up their pipeline. And at the end of the day, to me, there's 2 players that they could have gone for. And to me, I'd go with the left winger for Mary, Malcolm Spence. 63 games, 32 goals, 41 assists. I think he committed to Michigan for next year in the NCAA. 6'2", big boy that likes to crash the boards. So I think Nashville could use some of that and just have some depth in the prospect line. So to me, I'd go with Malcolm Spence.
Very nice, very nice. Moving on to the LA Kings. Pick number 24. Junior, you are on the clock.
So they're 26th, according to Scott Wheeler in the NHL prospect pool ranking. So they also need a lot of work. They had some fails on defense, and I think they're going to give it another crack. They're going to draft out of Boston University. 1 second here. Out of Boston University, 6'2", 176-pound defenseman, Sasha Boumedienne. Now, what I like about this guy is that he brings a high-end offensive production. He's super, super skilled and offensive, but lacks a lot of the other things that make you an NHLer. So I think they take a chance here when they pick like this deep in the draft. Given that they're contenders, I think you take a chance on him, especially that Clark hasn't really panned out yet. He has above average skating ability and speed. He's got a great combination of speed and size, but he doesn't really use his size and embrace the physicality. So that's something he's got to work on. But to me, the inevitable pick here should be Sasha Boumedienne.
All right. Very nice. Very nice. Moving on, after the LA Kings, we have the Chicago Blackhawks.
They just got Michael Misa in the second overall.
They got Michael Misa second overall, and this is the reason why I think that they're actually going to go defenseman here. I do like a lot of the defensemen that they have, and you can never have too many defensemen, but I kind of want somebody that's going to bring a little bit more size, a little bit more toolsiness, somebody that could play multiple roles on the defense, and maybe this guy's only going to end up being a second pairing guy. But with a right-handed defenseman at this stage of the draft, Logan Hensler is my pick. American-born, he's a play killer. He's been improving throughout the whole season according to Elite Prospects, and there's more offense to give there. So right now he's very defensive defenseman, but there is an opportunity for him to provide more offense as well. And Logan Hensler is my pick here.
Nice. So if I don't get the Columbus job, I'll get the Nashville job because I'm picking for Nashville again. And once again, Nashville, it's all about bolstering their prospect pipeline. They just traded their young goalie, Askarov, to San Jose. So to me, they're going to try to get another guy in the system. So the next goalie up to go is Jack Yankovic.
Really?
Yeah, listen, I'm going to be following the Michigan Wolverines because he committed to Michigan also. So, I think right now their team doesn't need much because they want to be playoff contenders. So these players are just there to boost up the prospect line and develop and have time to develop. So I think this is the perfect time to pick the goalie and have at least a goalie as a backup besides Saros.
I don't know if he's going to go in the top 6 rounds of this draft.
6 rounds.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the reason is because he doesn't have anywhere near the talent of a Dustin Wolf, but he has the same size as Dustin Wolf.
He's 5'11". Yeah.
He's going to scare a lot of teams away. So
I'm not scared.
That's right. And you are the only person that counts here because you are the GM of that team, of the Nashville Predators. Washington
Junior.
Capitals, you are on the clock, Mr. Junior.
Yes, so the Washington Capitals have a pretty solid decor, a relatively young decor with Cole Hudson coming up. They already have Jacob Churkin, who's 27, so he ain't going anywhere, and signed a long-term deal. Rasmus Sandin's only 25, so I'm staying away from defense here. What I do think they need, because even the prospects at forward, neither of them are centers. They've got Christel, they've got Leonard. I think even Parasak is not a center. So I'm going to go with a Parasak is right winger. Yeah. So I'm going to go with a 6'4". A lot of big guys on this in this draft, eh?
A lot of size.
6'4", 185 pound from Windsor of the OHL, Jack Nesbitt.
I like Jack Nesbitt a lot.
And where would he go? Washington. Like they needed him, right? Well,
they
do.
They have a tendency of drafting like just skill, all kinds of skill.
And you know what? He's got my favorite trait as a strength, which is hockey IQ. That goes a long way to making the NHL. He's got size, shot, physicality, a great awareness. Not the best skater. Not the quickest skater either. So he's got to work a little bit on his skating, which I think can be done. But given the fact that Dylan Strome is their number one center right now, I feel like they're just missing a little depth at center, and Jack Nesbitt would be the perfect fit here.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right, moving on to pick number 28, and we go on to the Winnipeg Jets. Ladies and gentlemen, the Winnipeg Jets, very, very good team. Won the President's Trophy. Unfortunately, doesn't pass the first couple of rounds very often. But
I wonder why.
They almost lost the first round to St. Louis. But their kind of prospects are like, I really like some of the younger guys that they had, but a lot of them have graduated. I think it's time to just replenish some of that defensive pipeline as well. And Logan Stanley is one of the guys that they have that's pretty young. But I want Henry Brushkovitz here.
You just wanted to say his
You
name.
just want,
right?
yeah.
I just want to say his name, but 6 foot, almost 6'2", 6'1 3/4, 203-pound defenseman from London. He was paired with Sam Dickinson for much of the year, and he's just a perfect complement, I think, to and spelling his name, by the way, it's going to be super fun to do. But he's the perfect complement to a. He's not going to play with Morrissey because he's still a few years away, but like a high activity blue liner, well-rounded toolkit. He looks to create on every puck touch. I just feel like this is a potential replacement one day for Morrissey style, right? Mm-hmm. He has shades of Rasmus Sandin, which is not necessarily the best, but we are picking here in the late 30 or late 20s, almost 30. So I think Winnipeg can't go wrong with a leader like this.
Yeah, listen, the net. I think the website is a bit confused. 29 should be Carolina, right? Because they have Calgary on the website.
Yes, it's Carolina.
It's Carolina, so they have what? So as for Carolina, listen,
Maybe they're predicting a trade.
Maybe they are predicting a trade. You never know. But at this point, I'm going with last man standing, just going pure talent and see if I can develop.
Which Carolina does often.
Yes, well, with Chet Jarvis as it goes. So I would go with right winger Ben Kindle. I mean, Benjamin Kindle, 65 games played, 99 points in the WHL with the Calgary Hitmen. He's 5'10", small size, but I mean, when you got this much pure talent, I think it's just a go for that.
All right. Next on the board is San Jose with number 30th overall. Junior, what does San Jose need here?
So we know they have all the skill in the world, right? They're pretty stacked. Their prospect pool is pretty stacked. So I'm going more in terms of need here. What do they need? They need a bit of size. They need a bit of physicality with the potential of having an offensive touch. I am going out of the queue, playing with Rouen Nouranda, 6'2", right winger, 187 pounds, Bill Zonen, who, by the way, killed it on the pull-ups at the Combine. Great intensity, work ethic, and drive. Very good qualities to make the NHL. Strong awareness, playmaking instincts, strong speed, footwork, and agility, puck protection, and ability to win battles. So he has all the things that would be great to complement the Will Smiths, the Chernyshovs, the Celebrinis, and who did we have them picking in this draft? Michael Misa?
No, Misa went to Chicago, right?
Oh yeah, no, they get what's it called? They pick second overall. Who did you give them at second?
I don't know. Who did you give him at second?
We're going to give them now. Michael
Misa.
Martone was
Martone.
Yeah, so he's a great compliment to these more skillful guys, and I think he can earn himself a nice spot there and could probably reap the benefits of playing with them as well in terms of fantasy relevance. So give me Bill Zonen to the San Jose Sharks.
All right, guys. It is pick number 31, the Calgary Flames. Only one pick left after this, but Calgary is freaking excited. They are excited because they are going out there and they are grabbing the fastest skater in the draft, Cameron Schmid. He is tiny. He is 5'7" and a quarter. Okay, don't forget the quarter. He is a right-handed left winger, and think of Alex DeBrincat if you put a firecracker up his wazoo. He's a high-end shooter, electrifying rusher, surprisingly physical for his size, and has a special to make the NHL. We'll see if he could adapt to the league, but if I'm thinking of a Theo Fleury type player, this is the kind of guy that I'm thinking about. So I really like Cameron Schmid. I think he's going to go higher than this just because of the fact that he's so electrifying. But who knows? At 5'7", you don't know if he's going to make it to the NHL, right? It's a little bit of a hard one.
Oh, look, Poirier was drafted last year by Carolina, and he was 5'7".
Yeah, exactly.
Not in the first round, but he
not
was
in the
drafted.
first round. But Cameron Schmid is just like one of those fantasy guys that you know he's going to go much higher in fantasy, right?
Yeah, okay, 78 points in 61 games.
Yeah,
in the Western Hockey.
Vancouver Giants.
So basically, after that, Philly is the last pick that we
Last
have.
pick of the draft.
We
Philly,
made
you
it,
are
guys.
on the
We made
clock.
it.
So like
Philly's
I said,
had a great draft by the way, so far.
Everyone's had a great draft. We
Shout
should all
out
be
Philly's had a-
GMs.
if you're watching on YouTube, you're gonna see there's the 4 last teams where the website kind of mixed up the teams. So just listen to our picks instead of looking at
Yeah.
them. But to me, Philly, you go with pure talent. You go with a player who has smooth skating, offensive creativity, and the ability to control the pace of the game. And my pick is I had him. Where did he go? Ivan, where are you, Ivan? Ivan Reinbecken.
Yes, I like that a lot, actually.
Ivan Reinbecken.
I just want you to say it again. Who?
Ivan Reinbecken. So yeah, I would go. He's a centerman. Who? You can never have enough centermans in your prospect pipeline. So they're easier to transform into wingers than wingers are centermen. So that's why I would go with him as.
There was a lot of talk of him being a very high pick in this draft during his development years, and he fell off big time. But the potential is there for sure.
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
It's a nice high upside pick for the last pick of the first round.
that. Yeah, high risk, but
Yeah.
potentially very high
Potential high
reward. And
reward.
that's
That's it.
what you go for at the beginning of the second or end of the first.
Yeah, guys, that was a great one. I really enjoyed it. Congratulations, the draft is now over. I hope you guys enjoyed this content because it's coming to you again in a couple of weeks from now.
Yeah,
We're also going to have Victor Nuno on
we are
as a special guest.
next episode.
Is that next episode already? No, I think it's the one after that. isn't
No,
it?
we're doing the prospect rankings next episode, so
For
stay tuned
fantasy
for that.
prospect-
Fantasy.
fantasy prospect rankings next episode,
And then
we're
Victor
going to go
Nuno.
over those prospect rankings with Nuno. It's all draft coverage for you guys because this is the draft season. Florida won, I think 5-2,
6-1.
6-1. There
6-1.
you go.
And if it wasn't already in your face on YouTube or you're not watching YouTube, follow us on the socials, Instagram, X, TikTok at Partial Break Pod. Like, subscribe on YouTube.
Download.
And, download, guys. Download and review. Give us reviews on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen. We're
You
there.
guys don't even have to listen. Just just download. Just download. Enjoy it. No, hit the like button. We like those likes.
It's a great time to be following the NHL with the Stanley Cup Finals, the prospects, the draft. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I hope you guys actually enjoyed this episode. I know I did. And hopefully we gave you some insight to some of these players.
Have a good week,
Have
everybody.
a good week, peeps.